Okay, so the last 7 weeks we've been talking about the 7 strategies of assessment for learning. So today I wanted to do a brief overview of all 7 strategies and how we've tried to implement them in our classroom. I think a good quote as far as formative and summative assessment is, for formative it's when the chef tastes the soup, and summative is when the customer tastes the soup. And I think that's pretty obvious that we have chances to change and make things better. So first, especially in strategies 1 and 2, we have to ask, where are we going? As a student, where are they going? And it might look a little difficult to figure out. So that's why I really think the first strategy is so important when we say provide a clear and understandable vision of the learning target. Each of our classes, they begin with the written instructions on the board for that day's activities, also posted as a broad topic question for students to discuss amongst themselves. And what this does is it allows the verbal instructions to sink in, allows the students to ask clarifying questions we can give answers for, and the lesson begins. And the lesson is structured around this initial topic question. Strategy 2, use examples of strong and weak work. I think this is important so students know what to look for and what to avoid. In our class, we use skill-based visual representations of the rights, responsibilities, and duties for a civics class. And we have to show them what strong work is, not just tell them. Verbal explanation of why this was strong, an example of weak work. Strategy 3, we offer regular descriptive feedback during the learning. And this feedback is very important. In the project mentioned above, although it was graded, extensive feedback was provided along with a copy of the rubric. Students were then encouraged to resubmit after making corrections or providing deeper understanding of the material. I think this is a good way for them to take ownership and improve based on what they see is needed. Strategy 4, teach students to self-assess and set goals. Depending on the activity or project, students can be provided with a self-grading rubric or a short self-administered quiz. The rubric would allow them to ask themselves, did I fulfill all the components, connections, ideas required? If not, why not? The quiz could be 5 big questions that link the content, so students know where to go next. In strategy 5, we use evidence of student learning needs to determine next step in teaching. This is the importance of the feedback loop. Pacing was adjusted in one of our classes to allow more time for activities or projects that required further explanation or when students appeared to get bogged down. We want to make sure they know that we're receptive and sensitive to what they need, and we're willing to adjust based on that. I think this is really important as a teacher. In strategy 6, use design-focused instruction followed by practice with feedback. In one of our classes using maps, primary source, and political cartoons, students worked in small groups to identify historical events and then give opinions on causation. Independently, they were asked to give written responses on fact presented. At each stage, class, group, individual, they were provided ungraded feedback so they could see what they needed more help with and what they understood. In strategy 7, we provide opportunities for students to track, reflect on, and share their learning progress. I think this is really important, especially the ability to reflect on and share. In our 12th grade honors Western Civ class, students were asked to perform an interactive demonstration of that week's unit. They went into detail on their process, methodology, effectiveness, strengths, and where they could improve. So when we start putting all these strategies together, all just being a piece of the puzzle, the student gets to take more ownership of the learning process and see, as it says in the beginning of our text, that learning is the end and the instruction and the assessment is the means. And if you remember, the road in the beginning of this presentation was curvy, and now the path looks a lot straighter. It's a lot clearer where they're going. And mastery, is the goal. And it's through applying these strategies that we're able to get the students to the point, where the material really integrates and they can achieve mastery. So thank you very much. That's all I've got.